It's now my privilege to introduce the Honorable Lisa Jackson, the Administrator of the United States Environmental Protection Agency. Administrator Jackson's priorities for the EPA include reducing greenhouse gas emissions, improving air quality, managing chemical risks, cleaning up hazardous waste, and protecting America's waters. Previously, the Administrator served as Chief of Staff to the New Jersey Governor John Corzine and as Commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Environment Protection, where she also served as Assistant Commissioner for Compliance and Enforcement and as Assistant Commissioner for Land Use Management. Administrator Jackson worked for 16 years at US EPA, initially at the headquarters in Washington, D.C., where I got my start, and later in the regional offices of New York City. Please join me now in a warm welcome to Honorable Lisa Jackson.
Extraordinary to be here. Thank you for that lovely welcome. Thank you, Queen Noor. Thank you, my fellow ministers. And I didn't get a chance to speak to all of you. It's lovely. It's nice to see you, Governor. It's nice to see you, Walter and Chris and David. And thank you, Mayor. I do want to spend some time getting serious tonight, but the one priority I have is staff. So I'm told there are a lot of people here tonight with great resumes, and Aspen has them. I warn you, the vetting process is a little difficult. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a time for big ideas, and I salute you. I know that tonight, after I'm finished speaking, that's exactly what we're going to speak about tonight. We are here tonight as Republicans, as Democrats, as scientists, as I am, as government officials, as I am, as educators, as venture capitalists, as people who label themselves as environmentalists or environmental advocates, and business leaders. We're here to talk about clean energy, and we're here to talk about the environment. But we're also here to talk about some other big issues: international affairs, inner city poverty, food supplies, transportation, government policy, and economic possibilities. We've come to this mountaintop to share our visions of the promised land together. And we've come here to share some big ideas. We've come here at a time where we're at a crossroad in our country's history. As a nation, we certainly face the most serious economic recession since the Great Depression. Every American is anxious about what that means, not just for their future, but for the next generation as well. And at the same time that we face this economic crisis, we know that there is not a moment to lose in protecting public health and the environment, and in confronting the rapid advance of climate change. This is not an academic discussion anymore. We don't have the luxury of a far-off day of reckoning. The world's leading scientists predict notable, if not drastic, changes within our lifetimes if we don't get started right away. Those changes pose very real threats to our economic stability. They jeopardize the public health, and they raise serious concerns about our national security. For those reasons and more, we are embarking immediately in the Obama administration on an aggressive environmental agenda. President Obama has committed to double our clean energy use in the next 3 years, and he has set an ambitious goal of cutting more than 80% of harmful greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2050. Now let me say, I am a mother of 2 young boys, 13 and 12, so I am an active consumer in this economy of ours. I am also looking forward to a day when they go to finish school and I stop paying for it, my husband and I, and they move out into an economy that I hope is strong and that supplies for them good jobs and sustainable jobs because they're working in a sustainable economy. So I know that the long and the short term of our economic recovery is personal for many of us, and certainly personal for me. I know that people are struggling to make ends meet. And I know that extraordinarily important to success is that we must not ever position the environmental movement or the climate change debate as somehow standing in the way of economic recovery. Now, you all know that as well. You all know that as well. Thankfully, we have a president, in President Barack Obama, who has rejected the false choice over and over again between the green economy and the green environment. President Obama and many others have, yeah, isn't that something? Our president and many other leaders have stood up to say that our economic future and our environmental future are inextricably linked. And of course they're right. We also recognize connections to other very key issues. In healthcare, the people that get sick at 2 and 3 times the average rate because of pollution in their neighborhoods are the same people that predominantly seek treatment in our emergency rooms. That drives up costs for everyone and slows down much needed reform in that field. Or how about in education? When children repeatedly miss school with asthma or allergies or complications from exposure to mercury or lead, and they suffer because they miss school. And not to mention the toll it takes on their working parents who have to stay home with them, who must stay home with them. These are setbacks to our economy that we also cannot afford. The way out of our challenges is through a clean energy transition, through a reduction of harmful emissions in our air, and through the creation of millions of jobs across a green economy. Indeed, this is a time for big ideas. Now, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here and to be a part of an administration that is taking on big ideas, starting with our American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. One newspaper wrote that, just taken alone, the clean energy measures in that act are the largest single energy bill in our nation's history. Just last Tuesday, the president met in Washington with researchers and entrepreneurs to explain how we're using recovery funds to create 300,000 green jobs and to double our supply of renewable energy. For the longer term, the president proposed a 10-year, $150 billion investment in clean energy. And for EPA, in a Recovery Act, our president and our Congress gave us more than $7 billion for shovel-ready projects that are about more than energy. They're about diesel emission reductions, brownfields cleanup, water infrastructure, investment in drinking water, and investment in repairing leaking underground storage tanks. An extraordinary connection again between the environment and the economy. The president also went a step further. He proposed for EPA the largest budget in real dollars in its 39-year history. And not only did he propose it, but he has said over and over again how important it is to know that EPA is there to protect the health of the American people. So we have the highest budget, but we have some serious news too, right? Because we have the highest level of expectation now for EPA in our 39-year history. So you better believe that I have some big ideas for EPA. We're at a critical moment of world leadership. Around the globe, other nations are looking to us to lead, and I had an extraordinary example of that very early on as administrator. You know, no one thought we could do it. No one thought we could go to the UN meeting in Nairobi and talk differently about mercury. They were hopeful that we might make some changes around the margins, that maybe we would start to talk about something other than a voluntary reduction of mercury. But President Obama's team went to that meeting and championed the idea of mandatory reductions in mercury use worldwide. And when they did, countries like China and India came right to the table. They were willing, they were perfectly willing to follow our lead, but they were unwilling to act if we did not. That is the power we all have to make a difference, to be a standard bearer, and have a truly global impact. So now the world is waiting for our big ideas. What do we do in the face of all that pressure? I can tell you what EPA will do. Right now, we see the opportunities before us to protect health and the environment, and it's actually a little daunting, the responsibility before us. But we have to meet that responsibility. And when I speak to industry leaders, when I speak to the press, when I speak to our employees, when I speak to the president, I have one simple message, and that is that EPA is back on the job for the American people to protect human health. So what does it mean to be on the job? Well, that's a nice slogan. It always gets applause. I'm wondering how long it'll be before it doesn't, but I'll take it. Okay, but I'll take it as long as I can. But what does it mean? It means that we have to do some work. We have actually some pretty hard work to do. We've also done a little bit. We've announced a lot of plans to review a lot of things. We're reviewing the California waiver on auto emissions. And proposed standards for, we've already proposed our standards for national greenhouse gas reporting. Those standards are carefully tailored to be sensible, to demonstrate eminent common sense, to get the most information we can without hurting small business, because we are also messaging that we understand that economy grows with small business. We're focusing our resources on monitoring toxic air around schools because Americans turned with needy eyes looking for an answer when the USA Today put out a report that said there were harmful toxins in the places where their children went to learn. And most recently, we submitted to the White House a proposed endangerment finding on carbon and other heat-trapping pollutants. We have tried to make clear, and the President has certainly made clear with us and with his staff, that the best solution, and I believe this with my heart, is to work with Congress to form and pass comprehensive legislation to deal with climate change, to include a nationwide cap-and-trade system. In constructing the system, we would have the opportunity to make sure that we reward innovation, we discourage pollution, we make investments that create jobs, we invest in renewable energy, and we encourage energy independence. It's important to remember that as we propose the endangerment finding, we do not want, we hope to avoid actually, a regulatory thicket where both government and businesses spend untold money fighting over enforcement, fighting over compliance. We're not looking, as some alarmists have indicated, to regulate every single Dunkin' Donuts or every single cow or every single backyard barbecue grill. We're not looking for a doomsday scenario. In fact, we are trying to avoid it. We are not trying to shut down the American economy. This is a step towards proactive solutions. This is a step towards innovation, investment, implementation of technologies that reduce harmful emissions. It's a step towards greener jobs, cleaner air, and a better future for our children. We want every single stakeholder at the table so that we can get our whole country moving forward on this important work. And for those concerned that this poses a threat to our economy, I'm asking you in particular to help us deliver and put in place new solutions. Please share with us, share with each other, share with the country your big ideas. Because if you think climate protection challenges economic growth, wait and see what climate change has in store for economic growth. We have long since passed the tipping point. One way or another, we have to bring our emissions down. I'm asking everyone to take part in shaping that outcome. So in closing, I look forward to your big ideas. Our challenge now is to take big ideas and turn them into sustained action, sustained and unavoidable action. I want to close by trying out on you something we were talking about on the plane today, so my speechwriter will get a little nervous. But, you know, I just spoke yesterday to environmental justice groups, and I am fond of saying that environmental justice is about meeting people where they are. It's not just about defining some narrow part of our world of environmentalism and saying, okay, well, when we're talking about urban areas or disproportionate impacts, that's environmental justice. No, because the environmental justice movement has grown past that. They are looking to us to make sure that these green jobs touch them and that their health improves and that hospital admissions go down. So we have to meet environmental justice advocates where they are today and make them see themselves and us as environmentalists at the same time with the same motives. The same is true for our challenges here. I was thinking on the plane that we actually have an extraordinary opportunity in this clean energy environment, in this transformative economy that the president is calling all of us to. We have an opportunity for a threefer. We have to meet people where they are. So if where people are is that they're worried about the economy, they're worried about where jobs will come from, they're worried about the loss of our manufacturing base, they're worried about the fact that they need to be able to see a future that doesn't mean their jobs are exported overseas. We have an answer for that. It's this clean energy economy that we're all of us trying to build under the president's leadership. Or maybe you're worried about the environment, and you're worried about climate change, and you're worried about what your state or your city or your neighborhood or your beach will be once climate change hits you. Or maybe you're worried about the fact that no matter where you are, as I just heard, even in some of the most pristine parts of our country, you can't seem to get away from the fact that the air is just not as clean as it used to be. Maybe you're worried about that. We have an answer for you. It's right over here in this clean energy economy that you're all working so hard to build and innovate to make. And lastly, maybe you're worried about security. Maybe you really do feel that in this day and age, our country is not as safe anymore. And so you're worried about that, and you wonder how we're ever going to be able as a nation to see a future that's steady state. Got an answer for you. I don't actually care if you come to that answer because you're not an environmentalist. I just think we all have to come to it. And it's extraordinary to be at a time where one answer answers so many extraordinary big issues. Thank you all very, very much.